She came up to me, quickly said, "Go home," and then without waiting for any answer, she just turned away and walked away. Hello everybody, my name is Manan. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, I talk about my life here in Estonia, beautiful country, and for some reason, everybody seems to really enjoy it. Now, a while back, I asked my viewers if they have any questions about me, and one of the questions that came up to me was, have I ever been subject to a racist incident? And I've always thought about talking about this topic, but I didn't before that. So let's dive into it a little bit. So first thing is that as a foreigner, racism is not a very easy topic to talk about because it is so very difficult to classify exactly what is racism and what is just normal, ordinary discrimination. There was a post in one of the expat groups on Facebook recently where a foreigner who was anonymous said that I recently came to Estonia and no Estonians seem to really sit beside me on the bus. And apparently, well, the foreigner didn't really realize that Estonians don't even prefer sitting next to Estonians. So it was definitely not a case of racism or discrimination of any kind. So this can be a really confusing topic. Another thing is that you don't always know if a person is being racist towards you unless they explicitly call you or state your race or your ethnicity verbally when calling you out. I mean, you never know because a person might be grumpy, a person might be feeling down, a person might be feeling angry, and if they say something to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being racist towards you. It's just sometimes people are like that. People are like that to everybody. But keeping that in mind, I think there are different ways, or there are two different ways that we can classify this whole thing. So first one is active racism. Active racism is when somebody explicitly, openly calls you out on your race. I mean, saying somebody the N-word with anger and for the specific purpose of inciting anger in them and their race is one example. There is no doubt about whether it's racism or not in the case of active racism. But then there is this other case which can be classified as like passive racism. For example, you're applying for a different place for rental apartments and then somebody, and you're the only foreigner, and they seemingly don't give you despite the fact that you have fulfilled all the requirements. Now, it could be because of your race, or it could be because of many other reasons that they don't like you. So you don't necessarily know if this is because you're a foreigner and because you have a different skin color and because you are from a totally strange land. So that is why what I mean to say is that it is very difficult to talk about this topic in a way, that makes sense. Part of that has to do with unfamiliarity. Like Estonia and people in Estonia, it has only been like around roughly 30 years since they have been outside of the Soviet Union, since they have seen and opened to the world. So the kind of integration and the familiarity, for example, that we see in Finland, where we have such a huge population of Ethiopian people, or Sweden, or for example, Germany, is still not here. Like you are still standing out a lot, like people stare at you, which I have seen change a lot in the last couple of years, right? So when I first came to Estonia, people used to stare at me a lot, but now it has gone really down because we have seen a lot of influx of foreigners coming to Estonia. So a lot of it has to do with unfamiliarity, and I think the best way to overcome this unfamiliarity is, of course, to learn the language. I mean, even if you learn 20-30 different Estonian words and you try to practice them, it immediately melts the hearts of other people. And honestly speaking, even if somebody is being actively racist towards you, there is no better way than to reply at them and even curse at them in Estonian, if they are cursing at you, of course. I have done that, and have a look here. So coming to the topic of have I ever been subject to a racist incident, there has been only one incident where I can remember that there has been active racism. And what happened was that I was coming back home from work on the train. So I was in the suburb of Tallinn where I used to work, and I was coming back home and I was sitting with my colleague who's an Estonian, and we were talking quite a lot. Like we were not drunk or anything, but we were really excited about work and talking about different things and we were talking, of course, in English. And there was this bunch of ladies that were sitting just beside our seat, and they were talking among themselves. I don't know, maybe they were talking something wrong about us, because my Estonian friend once or twice looked at them as I don't know what they're saying. And I think it was 1 or 2 stops before I had to drop by at the final Baltiam station. And then one of the ladies, when she was going to her stop, she stood up, she turned towards me, and then she said very, very kindly and softly, "Go home." And she quietly walked away. I don't know, I think that is one of the most politest racist things that somebody has ever said to me. But why is it racist? I mean, telling somebody to go home explicitly, it's always meant in the way that you don't belong here and this is not your place to be, and you should definitely go back home to wherever you come from. I wouldn't say it here if this was not such confirmed thing. If they had just, you know, like cursed at me. Go home is like a very common slur or direction towards immigrants in any other place, especially for people who don't look like the people who are natives. So anyway, how did I feel? I think I froze there for a moment because I didn't really know what to do or what to say. Till that day, I still remember that moment, and it didn't feel like, it didn't traumatize me or anything at all, because I mean it's just words, right? But at the end of the day, you feel like, you do feel that fear inside you, like if this is home because only I consider it home, or if this is home because others also consider it home for me or not. But I think this was the only time when something like that actively happened to me. There are lots of other incidents that are more passive. You don't know for sure whether it was your race or whether it was something else that contributed to the behavior of the other person. But this was one time and I was, you know, sure that there was a racial and ethnic and linguistic component to this thing. Should you be worried if you want to come to Estonia? I mean, if you look at it statistically, then living here for 8 years and having this one openly verbal incident is statistically almost insignificant. So I think you wouldn't feel anything major or different if you come to Estonia, for example, as a black person or a brown person or an Asian person. I mean, at least now, Tallinn and Tartu are like so diverse now. There are so many other people that you wouldn't even probably be stared at much now. But if you talk about the rural Estonia, then if you go there, then you might be used to stares, and there might be a few cases, people might call you a few things. So this means that, you know, you have to watch out. But on the other hand, I also feel that it gives you an opportunity to, you know, as I said, break ice, to make sure that you do your part in becoming a part of the culture and the country, and that is of course learning the language and speaking the language. No matter how long you're here for, even if you're here for a month or 2 months or 3 months, you can learn 30, 40, 50 different words at least. And finally, how do you deal with such racist incidents? What is the proper way to deal with them? Now, this of course depends a lot on your common sense and the actual situation that is happening. If you're, for example, a female and somebody's just cursing at you, then it's probably not a good idea to confront them, especially if the other person is drunk and, you know, they're out of their mind. And I would say the same for guys as well, that if you see another person who is drunk or who's out of their minds and who are not in their senses, then it's probably best not to engage them. But if you are in a situation where the other person is rational and the other person is still angry and they're actively cursing at you because of you and your race, then you should confront them. And you shouldn't let it go, because I see this happening all the time. Because if you're an immigrant, then you have, you know, this weight on your shoulders that I don't want to be a part of any confrontation, no matter what people call me. But I think that attitude is wrong, that you have the same rights as the person who is living here, no less. If a person is verbally abusing you, like openly, then you should directly confront them and you shouldn't let it slide. In a normal way, like not being just in a way that you don't let it slide. But if you see that the other person is out of their senses, the other person is, you know, like drunk or something, it's probably best to avoid it. And there has been an incident that went viral a few years back where a person, right in the police office where you're waiting to get your resident permit, a person started cursing at another foreigner who was from Pakistan, and this whole incident was recorded on video. The thing was that the person from Pakistan actually confronted them, and they didn't just sit back and, you know, let the other person go. So I think this is again a very difficult topic. It is a very sensitive topic, and it takes a lot of maturity to talk about this topic in a balanced way. But again, this is just my view. It's just my perception. It is just my experience, and I am the one person talking about it. But if you want to talk about it, or if you want to feel that you have something to say as an Estonian, as a foreigner, as an immigrant, feel free to write in my comments or direct any questions at me. But please keep the comments professional. Please don't forget the etiquettes. I remove negative comments, and if you try to put negative stuff here, then I do confront you, and I won't let it slide, because this is of course my place. Thank you again for watching, and I will keep making videos about the good questions that I get from other people. Take care, bye bye, and I'll see you in the next one.